bad to drop because, like I said, our conference and our project is supported by Minister of Foreign Affairs, so it is public fund, and we must spend public fund in a very good and fruitful way. So, by the way, Mr. Domisiewicz asked me to say one very important thing. Unfortunately, Mr. Domisiewicz must leave us, but he told me and he mentioned about one very important thing. Ladies and gentlemen, today, in this year, we celebrate 30 years of Polish-Macedonian relations, diplomatic relations. So it is a perfect time and perfect timing to do it, this conference, and thanks a lot, Mr. Domisiewicz, to mention me about this. So we have 1 hour, 20 minutes, but of course it will be too boring. Listen all our panelists for 1 hour, 20 minutes. I propose 1 hour for presentation altogether and 20 minutes for discussion, comments. So 15 minutes, and I will look at my watch or my smartphone, and 15 minutes, and I will cut off microphone. So the topic of this panel is Russia, disinformation and war in Ukraine, fake news in Poland and the Balkans. Like I said, and Professor Mesha Tahirowicz also mentioned, fake news is a very dangerous tool in the hand of Mr. Putin, Mr. Xi Jinping, and all our dictatorship in the world. And we try to fight with this, but it will be not easy way, and it will be a huge challenges. So we have 3 panelists: Professor Goran Ilik, Professor Mehmedin Tahirowicz, and Professor Blagoj Nenowski. Unfortunately, Mr. Marcin Sokołowski, he's ill, like our rector of University of Warsaw. It is not good time because it's a lot of people, unfortunately, is ill or they have problem with the health. So we have 3 speeches. I propose 15 minutes, and the first is Professor Goran Ilik. So the floor is yours, exactly 15 minutes. Please, Professor.
Thank you very much, Professor Zajeczkowski. My presentation today is the malign influence of Russia in the Western Balkans. It is derived from one wider research concerning not only Russia but China as well. When we talk about Russian influence in the Western Balkans, we should consider 3 main aspects. First of all is the existence of media outlets like Russia Today and Sputnik that operates in the region, disseminating narratives that align with Russian interest. And the disinformation are widespread through the region because of the similarities with the Serbian language of the region languages. Second, Russia has continued to capitalize on social and cultural biases, and as I call it, the sentiment, especially in the Slavic south of the Europe. And the third, one of the exponents of Russian disinformation strategy are Russia's embassies in the Balkans, which aim to spread propaganda which is particularly visible in the Balkans. Also, they have social media, which continue to be a major battleground where Russian disinformation can sway public fears and sentiments. I analyzed several Western Balkan countries. First of all, I will begin with Bulgaria, which is one of the closest countries to Russia and the country which is very porous to Russian influence. According to a Kantar survey conducted in July 2022, 66% of respondents in Bulgaria preferred Bulgaria to take a neutral position to war in Ukraine. Because in the context of Russian aggression to Ukraine, the neutrality position, should be discouraged, and also all NATO allies should conform with the main NATO position, that is sanction against Russia and resilience against Russian propaganda and activities. Eurobarometer research reveals that 73% of Bulgarians express compassion for the difficult situation in Ukraine, but they do not condemn Russia. They are just empathic to the people of Ukraine, but they do not want to condemn Russia. We must consider the fact that Bulgaria was 16th Soviet republic during the communist era, during the Todor Zhivkov. So the reminiscence of Zhivkovist era is live and today in Bulgaria. One of the main channels for Russian influence in Bulgaria are self-styled journalists who control or who opened some internet portals. Second one is political actors, especially media related to the Bulgarian Socialist Party. Little loud or little closer? Okay. And the third one is Russian embassy in Sofia. It is very interesting when Russian embassies, for example, in Skopje and in Sofia, they want to be very kind with Macedonian people or the other side with Bulgarian people. At first, they congratulate the Saint Cyril and Methodius Day in Macedonia as Macedonians, and then in the same day, through the embassy in Sofia, they congratulate to the Bulgarian Saint Cyril and Methodius, to Bulgarian people. So they, in both sides, are good friends and allies. They want to reveal themselves as good allies, friends, supporters of Macedonia or Bulgaria. Doesn't matter. It is very interesting, the situation in Croatia. For example, Croatia demonstrates strong political and social support for Ukraine, providing diplomatic, financial and military assistance for Kiev. But President Zoran Milanovic, which present some populist discourse, sometimes criticize Kiev, the European Union and NATO, while highlighting the Russian power. Also, this mixed messaging between the Croatian people on the one side and the political establishment of Croatia on the other side, led by Zoran Milanovic, it represents some divergent opinions, divergent approach in Croatian public discourse. Polls have shown that the overwhelming majority, over 70% of Croatian respondents, claim that Russia and its president Vladimir Putin are the main culprits of the war, and almost 80% express support for sanctions against Russia. About 70% of surveyed Croatian population evaluates Putin as a war criminal. Some of them call them Hitler in the 21st century, someone authoritarian leader and dictator, or Milosevic with an atomic bomb. Only a small minority claims that the Russian president is a real fighter against US dominance in the world, US hegemony in the world, and a real leader and hero of the Russian people, which predominantly exists in a more conservative areas in Croatia, in Serbia, in Montenegro, in Macedonia, etc. There are three main channels of Russian influence in Croatia. The first one are proxy connections with the national news through sponsored advertising, which is particularly evident in the case of the gas company PPD or Prvo Plinsko Društvo in Croatia and food conglomerate Fortenova, which is very interesting to know. The second one, there are financial constraints increasingly experienced in the Croatian media market and the associated decline in journalistic standards which may facilitate the inadvertent spread of Russian disinformation. This phenomenon is also present in Montenegro, Macedonia, Serbia, Bulgaria also. So the Western Balkans have very low media resilience. And the third channel is pro-Kremlin narratives can also be introduced into the Croatian information space through regional diffusion from Western Balkans countries because of geographical and linguistic proximity and similarities between Croatian and Serbian language. That is also significant for Montenegro and Macedonia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then we have Serbia. Serbia retains the status of the country in the Southeast Europe, which represents a pivotal hub for Moscow's disinformation activities. Public sentiment favors neutrality, which can be evaluated as very negative, with over 40% supporting Belgrade's neutral stance. An 80% majority of Serbs oppose sanctions on Russia, with over half attributing blame for the Ukraine war to NATO. Russian propaganda channels encompassing media outlets and social platforms in Serbia shape public opinions by highlighting Russia's role as a protector of Serbian interests, offering alternative perspectives on regional conflicts and spotlighting alleged Western double standards. The main reaction of Serbian people against for support of Russia is because their sentiment is against NATO, which originated during the bombardment of federal Yugoslavia during the late 90s. Then we have Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is a very divergent country regarding the public opinion. The Croatian and Bosniak side, they support Ukrainians and Ukraine against the Russia, but the part of Bosnia which is predominantly with Republic of Srpska, dominated by Miroslav Dodik, they support Russia against Ukraine, but they are compassionate with Ukrainian people, but they are against the regime, as they said, in Kiev, against the Nazi Volodymyr Zelensky, etc., etc. This is the main narrative in the Serbian part of Bosnia and Herzegovina folklore. The next one is Macedonian public opinion. It is also, or basically, we can evaluate it through the ethnic sentiments. On the one side are the dominant Macedonian sentiment, which is Slavic, Orthodox, not so pro-Russian, but regarding the Macedonian part, I can say that the Macedonian people with ethnic Macedonian origin, they are overwhelmed with the long-lasting process of first Atlantic and now European Union integration. They are very sensitive for double standards, especially of the European Union, because Macedonia has changed its flag, changed several times its constitution, integrated the Ohrid Framework Agreement in the constitution for balancing the ethnic conflict, etc., etc. They changed their name. Now some Albanian parties want to change the anthem of Macedonia, to federalize Macedonia, etc., etc. So the Macedonian people from ethnic Macedonian origin are overwhelmed and they react negatively towards European Union because of the long-lasting process. That's the most problem. And when you criticize someone, you need to, support someone else. So they hope that their hopes are directed towards Vladimir Putin as a new leader of the new world, against Euro-Atlantic aggression, against Euro-Atlantic sadism, etc., etc. But on the other side, the Albanian campus is totally supportive for the NATO, supportive for the Ukrainians, and for the Western allies against Russia. Also, if we delve more deeply, the Albanian population also, it is very interesting juncture, because the Albanian people, they support Recep Tayyip Erdogan also, which is also a kind of dictator as a Putin. He's not a democratic or a liberal leader, but in this context have some neutral position as a mediator between the West and the New East. Divisions in Montenegrin society and their perception in Russia. Public opinion in Montenegro trends reveal significant societal divisions, with approximately 16% of surveyed groups holding a positive view of Russia, perceiving its weapons and military power as superior, which is very similar as Macedonian public opinion. Montenegro and Macedonia are very similar, 19%, with 90% similarity. Also, regarding the Montenegro public opinion, Vladimir Putin consistently ranks as one of the most favorable rated foreign politicians. He is like Rambo. He knows how to drive a bear. You know, he has muscles. He's very intelligent, etc., etc. Regarding the war in Ukraine, 39% of surveyed citizens in Montenegro view it as a result of Russian aggression, while approximately 32% believe the war started as a response of act or self-defense against NATO expansion to the east. Very similar to the Macedonian opinion. Albania. Albania is the most clean case. Albania is totally supportive for NATO against Russia. Albania is, unique case in Europe, especially in the Balkans, that is totally aligned with the Western allies. But if you delve more deeply into the Albanian society, then you will find a very big support for Recep Tayyip Erdogan also, which can be quite problematic for the future maybe. After the Putin, the next one is Erdogan. So, I want to conclude. First of all, we need to know that the Balkans has never been Russian. The whole story about pro-Russian orientation of the Balkan people in Macedonia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Serbia, etc., is because of their reactions against the Western policy and politics in the Balkans, not because they are pro-Russians. The Balkan people has never have any experience with Russians. By the way, the great Marshal Tito said no to the Russians in 1949. And because of that, the Communist Party of Yugoslavia was expelled from the Cominform. But the problem is the treatment of the West and the Balkans. That's the most problem. If you want to stop the Russian penetration, but when I say Russian, I mean also in Chinese penetration, we should not forget China, which is more dangerous than Russia. Then European Union should incorporate absolute soft power, business power, etc., etc. You should integrate all the Western Balkans into the European Union. Now, Macedonia, for example, is once again faced with some challenges because of Bulgarian-Macedonian dispute about the Macedonian national identity, which is also a challenging question and very challenging issue. And I hope that our brothers, United States of America, will stand once again on the side of Macedonia, and they will support Macedonian EU integration process. Also, I hope that the European partners of Macedonia, first of all, I must emphasize Poland is one brotherly country of Macedonia, and Poland continuously supports Macedonia. Today we also celebrate 30 years of our mutual diplomatic relations, which is very good, and it is testament for our brotherly relations, our historical ties, and I hope that our future for our future. Okay, so total incorporation of Western Balkans into the European Union will finally end the possibilities for deeper Russian and Chinese penetration into the Western Balkans. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Professor. Perfect time also, 15 minutes. So I like your statement. The Balkans have never been Russian.
Yes, yes.
So the Balkans have never been Russian and Chinese.
Yes, and Chinese,
Only
especially Chinese.
Western European states and European Union states.
Right,
So
like
thanks
this.
a lot, Professor. And now the floor comes to Professor Mehmedin Tahirovic.
As you can see, the topic of my presentation is the impact of the war in Ukraine on the Western Balkans and Montenegro. I will continue where stay my friend from North Macedonia, the Vice Rector, Professor Goran Ilic. We have really a similar point of view of this type of problematic in international relations according to the Western Balkans. The content of my presentation is implication of Russia aggression against Ukraine, stability, NATO and EU. I will be only mention the main things according these questions, and have in mind that a lot of said about the problematic on the Western Balkans, my friend. I will also only mention some things and put accent of the last one, the impact of Russia against aggression against Ukraine on Montenegro. The first one is at the time of writing this word, all European states, except Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, have imposed a range of economic and sanctions against Russia. As said, Goran, it's the part of Bosniaks and Croats supporting the sanctions against Russia, but unfortunately the part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Republic of Srpska, not agree for this question, and as you know, the President of Republic of Srpska, Milorad Dodik, visited in May Mr. Putin to the Moscow to speak about very important questions on the Balkans. What is very interesting thing, on that time, Russia thinks that thankful the energy from dependence of Europe from Russia, especially of the gas and oil, that majority states in European Union will not support Ukraine. But it was the reason for more connection, for strongly connections, the states in European Union, and on the end, all of them supported candidate status of Ukraine and Moldova to be members of European Union in the next time. Have in mind the new strategic concept of NATO. I only would like to say that the point of 37 of the concept said that the Western Balkan and Black Sea area is of the strategic importance of NATO for future 10 years. According to that, you can see that NATO improved the forces for readiness in this moment for action for the 10 days from 40,000 to the 300,000 of soldiers in NATO. At the same time, the traditional neutral states as Finland and Sweden applied for the membership to NATO, and Finland is still now the member, and we are accepting the final decision of the Parliament of Hungary and the Turkey for the status of Turkey. It will be as soon as possible. I hope, of course, we have in mind that Erdogan also as a Vucic playing two chairs, sometime good cooperation with Putin, sometime with NATO. It is dangerous situation also for us have in mind the mixed population on the Western Balkans and the influence at the same time Russia and Turkey on the Western Balkans. I only would like to emphasize that in Montenegro now we have growing the population, people who are coming from Russia. 63,000 people came from Russia to Montenegro, 32,000 of Ukrainians and 25,000 of Turks. It's really interesting for the small states as Montenegro, only 600,000 of people, and I think that is not only case, that is intention for the future time to have more influence of the Montenegro. Effects of Russia aggression against Ukraine on the Western Balkans emphasize also the strategic compass for stronger security and defense of the EU until 2030, which states that security and stability in the entire Western Balkans are not yet complete, also due to increasing foreign interference, including information manipulation campaigns. It is really true. On the Western Balkans, in this moment, we have improving or increasing the NATO forces on the Kosovo and also European Union in Bosnia and Herzegovina. As I mentioned before on my introduced speech, I mentioned Matthew, thank you for coming, my college student, as I met him when I was visiting professor in May here. Thank you for coming. I mentioned that Putin, if will have to implement his goals for fast finishing his special operations in Ukraine, that he will try to open the new conflicts. What with Caucasus? You know that Azerbaijan is oriented more toward United States, and Putin knows for that. How to blockade a new conflict which will be influenced negative to the Russia engagement in Ukraine, he put as a present of Azerbaijan 130,000 people from Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh under control for Azerbaijan. It's a present for Azerbaijan, and he pacified the Azerbaijan or the Caucasus problem. At the same time, he tries to make the conflict on the Western Balkans, first of all on the Kosovo, between Serbia and Kosovo 2 times, during the elections in May, and after that 2 months ago with one, to say, terroristic on one group of Serbs from Kosovo who's killed one police officer in Kosovo, and after that reacted the police of Kosovo and killed 3 Serbs from North Kosovo. But NATO reaction was immediately. 2 days after that, NATO moved 1,000 soldiers to the Kosovo, and Putin see together with Vučić, and they are quiet now about this case. That is not easy to start with this conflict between Serbia and Kosovo, according to the NATO presence there. And then about the Bosnia and Herzegovina, probably Goran forgot to say, the reaction of Russia after the visiting Dodik to the Russia in May 22 of May, about the special questions and strategic questions to the Western Balkans. Russia sent 150 specialists, and the Minister of Defense of Bosnia and Herzegovina 2 days ago in the Parliament of Bosnia and Herzegovina said that Republic of Srpska formed the camps of the specialists who are preparing for the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Dodik answered that in the part of Bosnia came around 140 mujahedins from Arab states, and they are making very bad situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which can explode in any time. What was after not successful moving new war in any region of previous 2, Russia over Iran started the war in Middle East. It is from the intelligence facts really true that Russia was main factor. After that, the leader of Hamas had 7 meetings with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Lavrov. And you know that Russia received of the Iran more than 50,000 the drones for the war. It is the war of drones in Ukraine now. Unfortunately, the victims in Gaza are majority the women and the child. I'm going now on the main question, the impact of Russia aggression against Ukraine. How many times, Kamil? More? 4 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. The Republic of Serbia, after making the independence of Montenegro on May 2006, and of course the population in Serbia, ordinary people. My wife is from Serbia, and I know very well how are they thinking. They think that is Montenegro independence only temporary, and the Orthodox Church, in cooperation with Russia Orthodox Church, similar something in North Macedonia, according to the cooperation with Russian Orthodox Church, is the biggest influence for the Serbian population in Montenegro. And during the pandemic in the world, COVID-19, they had demonstration every day, and they really not respected any measures, and they changed the authority in Montenegro after 30 years. It is not good in a modern life in the 21st century that church changing the authority. If we are democratic states, it's not custom that church has the main influence for the changing the authority. And the first government was the government of the 12 apostles, as said the Prime Minister, Mr. Zdravkovic, on that time. After that, they changed the government as a minority government. The duration this government was only 100 days, but in a technical position, they worked 1 year. After 30 years, new president of Montenegro, Jakov Milatovic, won the previous one, Milo Đukanović, in the April 2023. On the election parliamentary in Montenegro in June 2003, the new political entity, the move of Europe, now received the biggest number of the parliamentarians, and from this party is new Prime Minister, Mr. Spajić. But unfortunately, two of them were of the members of the 12 apostles. What it means, 12 apostles? It means that they are cooperate a lot with Serbian Orthodox Church, and that main factor of the process of the functioning of life if Serbian Orthodox Church, if they are choosing the main people who are going to the very responsibility position, it is not good. Of course, the influence of Russia grew, and the others intelligence services in Montenegro present all days. We don't know how many agents we have between 63,000 of Russian in Montenegro now, and what they are working. A lot of them during the time legalized the property in Montenegro, and now they are opening a new company and they are successfully working there, and of course changing our demography structure. According to the time, I would like to emphasize that according to changing the government after 30 years, the key problem in Montenegro now is the organized crime and corruption, even the influence of our Serbian Orthodox Church on the ordinary population in Montenegro. We had the situation, the president of the Supreme Court of Montenegro, two former director of police Montenegro, president of the administrative court, and of course the many people from police directorate on the high level position and security agency were arrested in meantime. It is the sign that organized crime was very involved in the official institutions in Montenegro. Now, it's the biggest problem in Montenegro. It is it is the population census, or the list of population of Montenegro. In all states in European Union, it is not political questions, it is only statistics question, but in Montenegro it's not case. We have this situation that in many banners in Montenegro we have Novak Djokovic, who has with 3 fingers saying, please not a prize. be Serbian. What it means, they are making very dirty campaign, and of course they are saying from the famous people from the history of Montenegro that they are Serbians and that all Montenegrins need to orient it to be as a Serbians. And on the end, they never really, ordinary people in Serbia, as I started to say, and all population in Serbia not in reality recognize Montenegro as an independent state. And they are only making conditions to bring Montenegro as a part of Serbia. We don't have a lot of dangerous for the aggressions of somebody from abroad. The biggest threats, the challenges are interior of Montenegro. The deviation of population, negative campaign, especially on the ordinary people, and the key factor is non-stop engagement of Serbian Orthodox Church. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks a lot, Professor. We have two pictures, two perspectives, one from North Macedonia, one from Montenegro. So you can imagine and you can compare, and it is very useful information for us, for Polish researchers, Polish common people. And now the third lecture and speech, it will be something much more about deepfake threats in era disinformation. So it's much more focused on technical issue. So after political background, now we focus on some practical information. So the floor is for Professor Blagoj Nenowski. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Director Zajaczkowski. Before I start, I must emphasize the gratitude that we have for you to invite us at this final conference, and hopefully this will be a good foundation to deepen and have a more integrated future cooperation.
Yes. Sorry, thanks a lot for these words, and I forget about one very important person, Professor Ice Ilejewski. So the speech is prepared by both of them, Blagoj Nenowski and Professor Ice Ilejewski. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Director. So this final conference has a good title stating the Polish experience in combating disinformation, as well as the inspirations for the Western Balkans. But just by looking at the agenda, we can see that at our very first panel, our inspirations are taken from our neighboring countries. So in the disinformation era, we have deepfakes as one of the new and maybe the greatest and most advanced artificial intelligence threats at the moment. I will start to speak about the technical part, and then I will let my colleague Professor Ilejewski give his remarks regarding the legislation as well as the regulation part. So, looking at different scientific papers, we wanted to find a strict definition at what exactly deepfakes are. And what we find out is that there is a loose definition in the scientific communities. So just by looking at the Merriam-Webster dictionary, we can see that a deepfake is an image or recording that has been convincingly altered and manipulated to misrepresent someone as doing or saying something that was not actually done or said. So just by looking at the definition, we can see the negative context around deepfakes. But the technology that is being used for their creation has also its positive usages. At first, we can see that it can be used in the news anchoring process. So news studios are able to produce 24/7 live news. Then it can be used in the movie production business, where it would reduce the number of retakes. Sometimes they can age, or usually they can de-age the authors. And the most obvious one is that they can break the language barriers. Then we have the gaming industry, where coupled with text-to-speech technologies, we can create audio models that will achieve multiple outcomes in a single game. In the advertising business, it can reduce the marketing expenses, and there are obviously multiple instances how it can be used in the education sector. So this is just one positive usage of a deepfake. We have famous footballer David Beckham, who featured in a campaign with the simple words that say, "Malaria must die." So in this video, short video, less than 1 minute, he spoke 9 different languages just to reach a bigger audience. So the next logical question is, how are deepfakes made? And the simple answer is, they're made by using a software. We can see the logos from DeepSwap, Face Magic, SwapStream, Reface, FaceRoper, FaceApp, etc. But all of these that are presented on the left side of this slide are websites or applications that are used just for the fun element. So maybe a couple of friends can change their faces between themselves, they can feature in a movie, they can change the faces of movie actors, so we can see a movie with a face that was not actually in the movie, etc. But for more serious and more realistic results, we have FaceSwap and DeepFace Lab. They're both open source software, meaning anyone can use their code to view, to review, and even to modify it according to their needs. On the bottom side, we have the number of stars, the people watching, as well as the number of forks. Those are GitHub attributes that show us just how popular these softwares are. So without further ado, since I'm a pretty visual person, I would like to present you a video where my colleague gave an interview to the Voice of America. Okay, so the video was given in 2020, where Professor Ilievski gave an interview to the Voice of America, and we used that video to create a deepfake. First, we cut 33 seconds from the video. It was a 720p video, and we gave it to the cloud for creation. In less than 14 minutes, we had the result. The scary thing is that this was our first and only attempt of creating such a video. And you notice that both the head movement, the eye movement, we had the eye blinking, as well as the facial expressions that were kept between his face when my face was applied on his head. The second scary thing is that we only gave the system only a small picture of myself where we cropped my head, and it had a low resolution of 215 by 241 pixels. So at this point, if we were able to create such a video with only using one small image of myself, we can only imagine what powerful disinformation centers are able to achieve with much bigger budgets and as well as resources. So what are the obvious threats from deepfake videos? The first one is for disinformation. Then it can be used for defamation of an individual, and of course it can be used for identity theft. It is able to change the political discourse. It can be featured in scams where some celebrities or popular individuals can promote certain products or services. And sadly, most of the deepfake videos that are available online are used for non-consensual pornography. On this slide, we have two screenshots from videos. The first one from President Zelensky, only 2 weeks after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In this video, he called for the Ukrainian troops to surrender to the Russian forces. Only a couple minutes after this video was posted online, we saw the original President Zelensky giving a demand on all of the official channels, which gives us hopes and only shows that the Ukrainian government has been getting ready for this type of an attack. And it is not just that President Zelensky had been a victim of deepfake, also President Putin has been deepfaked even more times. In one of the videos, he was calling for civil mobilization, and in another one, he was even calling for donation to the Ukrainian government. Then we have an example of Indian journalist Rana Ayub, which was a victim on multiple vectors of attack. Firstly, she was impersonated on social media Twitter, where both her name, last name, as well as profile picture were used to spread racist comments. Then she was featured in a deepfake video where she was put in a pornographic manner. The same video was shared multiple times on social messaging application WhatsApp, but once the leader of the fan page of the BJP party shared that video, the number of shares got over 40,000 times. And just to make things worse, she was also a victim of a doxing attack. So at first, her phone number was shared online publicly, where she received thousands of incriminating and also life-threatening messages, and also her home address was shared. Then we have a case in late October that is familiar, I suppose, only to the Macedonian public here in this conference hall. We had a shooting in one of the malls in our capital city. This example has nothing to do with deepfakes, but only opens the question for an what-if scenario. So if we had a combination in the previous slide with Rana Ayub, where we had different criminal acts combined with deepfakes, what if someone penetrates the camera surveillance systems and inserts a deepfake version of an innocent person? So at this moment we can see just how dangerous deepfakes actually can be. What can we do about it? Well, we can strengthen our resilience by strengthening our 4 different pillars. We can raise the public awareness. It would lead to better recognition tools, which can be created by better company policies and companies that can be pressed by the government criminalization as well as regulation of this type of technology. So, for raising the public awareness, we have to be put in the shoes of a marketing agency. We need to know and how to find the right ways to reach different target groups. When my 4.5-year-old son asked me what I'm doing on my computer while I was preparing my presentation, once I started to explain to him what deepfakes actually are and what face swapping actually is, he just asked me to stop with the explanation. He reached for his phone and played me this video. It is a kids' content on a channel called Sheriff Labrador, and in only 1 month it has been viewed for more than 8 million times. Then we have hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar, where in one of his videos his face morphs from himself to Kanye West, to Will Smith, and even the deceased Kobe Bryant. So here I have to put that although this might not be the music that we prefer to listen to, it might be just the right way to reach the teenage audience. And one of the greatest examples of raising the awareness about deepfakes is by comedian Jordan Peele, where he impersonated President Barack Obama just to show how realistic deepfakes can be. So, what can companies do? We have the 2 greatest companies when it comes to sharing videos online. Those are YouTube as well as TikTok. At first, they will start to label AI-generated or AI-manipulated content. In the case of YouTube, they will start to label it in the description, but if someone at the company thinks that it is a sensitive topic, then they will implement the AI label in the video itself. Before I hand my microphone to Professor Ilierski, I would like only to go through a couple of suggestions on how we as individuals can recognize a deepfake. So we sat on our computers and watched multiple multiple examples of deepfakes. What we can suggest at first is to follow your intuition. If you're watching a video and although you might not be able to explain what is wrong with the video, it can be a sign of a deepfake video. But if we want to get technical, first thing that we can do is to start looking at the source of the lightning. Once we identify the lightning source, we can look for the unnatural or even the lack of shadows. In some cases, deepfake videos can lack the shadows around the face, but they can be present at the neck area. Then we can look at blurred or pixelized parts of the face. Those face parts are usually the cheek area that have much less details compared to our eyes, to our brows, nose, as well as the mouth. Then we can look at the number of details in our faces and compare it to the details in the background. Usually, low-end tools produce results that have less details in the face. But advanced and state-of-the-art software usually have another additional face-enhancing layer that can even produce more face details compared to the background. If we have videos where we have, let's say, for example, interviews, we can look for the difference of face details between two consecutive scenes. Then we have the eyes. AI-generated content can produce results that would not blink at all, or they might have rapid eye blinking. We can look for the eye movement and see how natural the eye movement is in coordination to the head movement, as well as the message the speaker is trying to point out. Then we have the pupils, where in natural humans they need to have either a circular or an elliptical shape, but AI-generated content can be really creative with the pupils. And lastly, when speaking about the eyes, we have our eyes as our most reflective part of the face. Then we can check the audio quality and compare it to the visuals in the video. We can look either for visual or audio background noises. And one of the greatest giveaways at this moment is how natural the mouth movement is. So if maybe the young students would like to check their knowledge, there are multiple online quizzes where they can try to follow their intuition in how to detect or how to spot a deepfake. To tell you more about the regulation as well as the legislation part, I will hand my microphone to Professor Ilievski.
Thank you, colleague Kmenovsky. Dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I would also like to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conference and wish many more successful collaboration projects and conference. In my part, I will address the need for deepfake regulation and the problem and the situation of the Republic of North Macedonia with dealing with disinformation. Looking into recent developments in politics and media, the problem of disinformation reveals a very complex challenge. Deepfake can be considered in the wider context of digital disinformation, alternative facts, and changes in journalism. Since deepfakes can be used as a vehicle of disinformation, the legal framework related to disinformation is relevant also in this context. The creation of a deepfake typically involves the use of personal data. A deepfake that depicts a natural person can be considered personal data since it relates to identified or identifiable natural person. Personal data may only be proceed under certain conditions since every individual has the right to privacy and data protection. The general rules for proceeding personal data are laid down in the General Data Protection Regulation. In 2018, European Commission introduced the principle of its strategy to counter disinformation. One of the key instruments of the European approach to tackling disinformation online is a code of practice on disinformation. Another document is Digital Services Act. The Digital Services Act pertains to content on social media platforms. Its relevance extends to the distribution of deepfake. There is also the European Democracy Action Plan and European Digital Media Observatory. The most comprehensive and recent documents with regards to the discussion of the deepfake issue is the resolution on artificial intelligence in education, culture, and the audiovisual sector. This resolution puts forth several proactive suggestions. This encompasses the significance of heightening awareness about the risk associated with deepfakes and enhancing digital literacy. It also addressed the growing challenges of identifying and labeling false or manipulated content through technological methods. The resolution urges the Commission to establish suitable legal framework governing the malicious creation, production, or distribution of deepfake. Additionally, it advocates to the advancement of detection capacities and enhancing transparency on the content displaying platforms, users providing them with increased autonomy to decide the information they wish to receive. In North Macedonia and the Western Balkan country, disinformation campaigns driven by foreign malign influence influctuate align with the prevailing political condition in the region or a specific country with it. In a survey of a national representative sample showed that over 83% of the respondents agree with the statement disinformation is very harmful and had to be sanctioned by law. Moreover, 90.8% of the respondents said that the government needs to take measures to deal with disinformation in the media. For this purpose, the government adopted a plan for resolution and action against spreading of disinformation, consisting of various non-blinding activities aimed at combating disinformation and a strategy for building resilience and tackling hybrid threats accompanied by 2021-2025 action plan. We identify numerous malicious as well as beneficial application of deepfake technologies. The use of deepfake technologies becomes problematic when the creator intends to deceive an audience with malicious intent or influence. We conclude that the risk posed by deepfake technologies to society are significant, yet contingent on specific context. Deepfake technology is a rapidly evolving field, making it challenging to accurately anticipate its future trajectory. Nevertheless, it's certain that visual manipulation is a persistent presence. Quick solutions are unavailable, and effectively addressing the risk associated with deepfake necessitates ongoing contemplation and perpetual learning. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. So after free presentation, now we have 20 minutes for some questions, comments. So please feel free. So we have two presentations about North Macedonia and one about Montenegro, and one presentation about what does it mean deep fake news. So I open the session Q&A, so the question, comments, so let's start. So, Professor Adamczyk.
Artur Adamczyk, Center for Europe, University of Warsaw. Thank you very much for very interesting presentations. But regarding the absence of Professor Sokołowski, whose interventions should focus on Macedonian Orthodox Church and the problem of Russian disinformation in the Macedonian public space, I would like to use the possibility, because we have our friends from North Macedonia and from Montenegro, and ask you about the attitude of Orthodox Macedonian Orthodox Church towards the war in Ukraine, but also towards the accession process of North Macedonia. And regarding Montenegro, because Professor Tahirovic mentioned about the impact, the influence of Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro, but generally I would like to ask you about content of this impact also towards the accession process of Montenegro and war in Russian aggression against Ukraine, but also about Montenegrin Orthodox Church. If there is a difference in the attitude between Montenegrin Orthodox Church and Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro. So thank you very much.
So thanks a lot, and we collect more questions. So, yes, Professor Bruno Surder.
My question is somehow
Just a moment.
Yes, my question is related to the previous question. It is directed to Professor Tahirovic. You have been saying much about the issues and challenges facing Montenegro. Yeah, so especially corruption and security issues, even organized crime influence on Montenegrin security apparatus. So what do you think, taking into account all these challenges and all these things, what is the prospect for Montenegro to join the European Union in the future? What should be done as regards institutions of Montenegro? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. And two more questions. Yes, our students. So please introduce, so you have extra points in your classroom. Sorry.
So I actually have a question for all of the people. So first, sorry. So first question is, considering all the data presented, considering all of the data that were presented, do we consider the Balkans as victorious in the battle against discrimination, or is there anything that could be done better or to be improved? And question for Professor Tahirovic is, do you think the citizens of the Montenegro do they recognize the fact that they are targeted by the cyber attacks from, for instance, Russia, and how do they respond to the fact that they might fall prey to their sedition, I suppose? And the last question about the deepfakes is, what can we as ordinary people do to prevent these things from happening or to fight when they occur? Thanks.
Okay, two more questions from our Italian friend. She's Polish. No?
Polina Zavershinsky, University of Leipzig. I have a question to Professor Tahirovic. Maybe it's because of my political sociology background, but I have more, let's say, technical questions. So you were listing these conflicts which arose after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in the, let's say, post-socialist and as well as Balkan areas. Do you think by attributing these escalations of the aforementioned conflict to Russia, we give too much credit to Russia and reinforcing the core narrative of Russia's omnipotence and Russia's direct influence in this area still? Of course, can you please maybe more detail, like that's why, because I'm not coming from international relations, they detail the connections and provide more data regarding that.
Thanks a lot. And one more question. No, okay. One more, yes. Please introduce.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Piotr Wójcik. I'm a graduate from the International Relations at the University of Warsaw, but now currently I'm the thesis analyst for cooperation in Central Europe. And I have a question regards your lecture. Could you say something shortly about the differences between Russian and Chinese disinformation in the Western Balkans? Yes, and what are the differences and how it look like? Thank you.
One more question? Yes, our colleagues.
Dorota Jurkiewicz speaking, Center for Europe, University of Warsaw. This is in addition to the question of Artur Adamczyk on the possible role that Orthodox Church, Russian Orthodox Church, might play in the Western Balkans. We are facing a very important disinformation on Orthodox relics in Peczewska Ławra in Kiev, and this information dealing that those relics will be hosted in Louvre by France and other Western countries has been largely commented even by Lavrov and Zakharova. So my question is, to what extent Orthodox Church in Western Balkans might be also influenced by those disinformations actions that we faced towards Wawra. Thank you.
More questions? Comments? Okay, so thanks a lot because we have 6 different questions, so thanks for your question, and now we start from Goran, Mesha, and Blagoy. So,
okay, I have one microphone. Thank you very much to all of you for your very insightful questions. I will try to answer with some commentaries, reflections about the questions which involve my expertise and my reflections. Regarding the Macedonian Orthodox Church, first of all, we need to know that the Macedonian Orthodox Church is not so powerful, not in Macedonia, but also in the region as well. One of the most, or 2 of the most powerful Orthodox churches in the Balkans are Serbian and Greek Orthodox Church. And maybe the third one is Bulgarian Orthodox Church. Regarding the influence of Russian disinformation or propaganda in Macedonia through the Macedonian Orthodox Church, no, there is no any influence through Macedonian Church. Well, maybe because the official stance of the Macedonian Orthodox Church is totally in line with our government stance, totally support of Ukraine. That is the official stance. You have some maybe bishops in the church who are pro-Russian, but they are pro-Russian because of interest, and they are pro-Russian because of against the United States, against EU values, and yes, the interest. Yes, but there are 2 or 3, for example, I can say their names. One of them, which is pioneering, is Agatangel, the name of the bishop. And he is metropolitan of Vardar metropolitan area of Macedonian Orthodox Church. And the second one is the Mr. Peter, or Gospodin Petar, who is metropolitan of our Pelagonia and Bitola metropolitan area. They are most prominent in these pro-Russian stances, but they are not motivated because they feel pro-Russian or they have something with Russia. They have no any influence on the masses, but they try to oppose because they are affiliated with the opposition party ВМРО ΔΠΜ. They were the previously party in power, who was dissolved, and their president Nikola Gruevski, former prime minister of Macedonia, are in exile now in Budapest. But there is no any pro-Russian sentiment, maybe pro-Russian interest. That is very important. In Macedonia, you do not have pro-Russian sentiment because Macedonian people there, they have not anything in history with Russia. Russia was never been present in Macedonia. Maybe during the history, Russia supported Bulgarians in their war against the Ottoman Empire. And because of that, Bulgaria erected many monuments in favor of Russia, Russians, Russian army, etc., etc. During the Second World War, Yugoslavia people liberated themselves as a partisan movement with unique features, without Russia, without Soviet Union, etc., etc. So in that sense, we are quite autonomous. And we do not have any experience with a Russian military booth in Balkans or in Macedonia. The second part of the question is the significance of Serbian Orthodox Church. Absolutely. The Serbian Orthodox Church is a totally different story from the Macedonian Orthodox Church. That church is very powerful in parallel with Greek Orthodox Church. They are sister churches. They have historical ties and mutual tradition for power, for influencing the whole region, Serbian and Greek Orthodox Church. Also, we should not forget that Greek Orthodox Church hosted Putin 10 years ago as a new or the second Byzantine emperor in Athos, in Greece, today Greece. So, it is very important to look very carefully on Greek politics and Greek position in the Balkans and Serb position in the Balkans also. The Russian influence through the Serbian Orthodox Church is proliferated because of the similarities between the Serbian language, the language of in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegrin, Croatian, etc., etc., and also Macedonian language. But you do not have some dangerous penetration of Russian influence in Macedonia, maybe in some isolated groups of people. Now, these days, one of minor political party in Macedonia, which name is Levica, or the left. They are only in the title left. The ambassador knows them, but they are in attitude are, some crypto-fascists. Because they were in black, they have some radical narrative, radical approach. Not only destroy the parliament, they will remove Macedonia from NATO, they will cut off the Euro integration process, etc., etc. But they are nonsenses. And the dominant political party in power is totally pro-Western. Officially, the main opposition party, VMRO-DPMNE, is pro-Western. That's in brief, like that. But Macedonia also is challenged with the recognition of autocephaly of Macedonian Orthodox Church. First of all, we regained our autocephality from the Serbian Orthodox Church, and now we wait to be confirmed from any other Orthodox Church in the Orthodox ecumena. That is very important in order the autocephality to be confirmed. Now we have some problems also with Bulgarian Orthodox Church, some challenges, some open issues because of the Ohrid Archiepiscopi and the legacy of Ohrid Archiepiscopi. The Greek affiliated Orthodox churches, they also have some open issues because of the name of our Orthodox Church. They don't want to use Macedonian Orthodox Church, but only Ohrid Church, for example, or Ohrid Orthodox Church, which basically, Mladen knows that issue. I will end here, I finalize here. It is very important to know that one of the diseases in Orthodox world is ethnophiletism. That the problem is when you align the church with nation. But the first ethnophiletist church was Greek Orthodox Church. And she was the main and today is also ethnophiletist church, which is articulated through Fanar in today Istanbul, former Constantinopolis. I hope that that issue, that process of recognition of autocephality or regaining the autocephality will finish in favor of Orthodox people, for example, in Macedonia, in the region, and that issue will be closed. But Russia is not meddling in that area, because also Russian ambitions is greater than Macedonia. That is the third Rome, the Moscow Patriarchate. That's that is the main point of Russia, and also they done some schismatic attitude, which means that they founded or established a Russian exarchate in Africa, because founding an exarchate is also a schismatic attitude. What was in history very familiar for Bulgarian exarchate in Macedonian lands, in order to convert Macedonian Christians in Bulgarians. The whole Orthodox ecumena judged the Bulgarian exarchate, and today the Russian exarchate in Africa, for example. Okay, I will end here. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Professor Ilik. And now the floor is for Professor Mehmeti.
First of all, the question of Artur about the accession process of Montenegro and the influence of Serbian part in Montenegro on this process, and of course the Serbia, if I understood well. Have in mind the history of Montenegro. Montenegro is a small state, but with veoma rich history. Montenegro, first state made 1,000 years before. Comparing the influence of religion in Poland and Montenegro. During the communistic time, Montenegro back again some status of the state. After the First World War, Montenegro lost the independence, and we were under the kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenian, and after that the kingdom of Yugoslavia, of the Karađorđevića kingdoms from the Belgrade. The history is continuing now after the socialistic time in Montenegro, and we have two churches in Montenegro. One Montenegrin, which is formed again after the crash down the former Yugoslavia. But this church is so poor. Unfortunately, the authority of Montenegro in the previous 30 years didn't support this church, and they cooperated with Serbian Orthodox Church, have in mind the importance of support of Serbians in Montenegro to be Montenegro independence. It was the mistake, of course. And a same church which supported independence of Montenegro, leading by Metropolitan, the Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro, they had the most influence for the changing the authority in Montenegro. What now we have absolutely divisions to the society in Montenegro on two parts, Montenegrin and Serbian parts. The Serbian parts of Montenegro supported Russia. Montenegrin's part supported the Western Union. But fortunately for Montenegro, the other minorities, Croats, Albanians, and Bosniaks, also supporting the Western orientation of Montenegro. In this case, we have absolutely majority of our public opinion for the joint Montenegro to EU. But many obstacles on this process, because the influence of Russia over the church and the political party who are oriented toward Russia. For example, Serbian People Party, the leader Mandić, who was the famous person who connected with Putin and Vučić, he is now the president of the parliament of Montenegro. You know the position of the parliament in the process of accession in European Union is very important. They can blockade in any time any decision. Of course, the decisions for sending our forces to the European Union missions and of course for the NATO missions, the main body is in the state, the parliament. It will be probably obstacles. They promised the Western states in Montenegro and embassy Western Europe in Montenegro that they will adopt their politics toward European Union and toward Euro-Atlantic integration. But we will see, we are only on the beginning. As I said, you cannot only believe, we will be in the process, how is their behavior, that they really change the opinion or not. If not, Montenegro will be in a problem. Not toward European Union, not toward Russia, and it will be stopped the process of the integration.
Maybe that's the point. That's the point of the enemy of the integration.
Of course.
That's the point.
As you know, Montenegro opened every 33 chapters. But we only to the 2020 closed only 3 chapters and stopped 3 years, nothing more, no European integration, because it was the influence of the church and of Russia to stopping joint Montenegro to NATO. I would like to mention there is a smallest state, one of the smallest in Europe, smallest in our region. We had the biggest cyber attacks in our governmental administration from Russia, of course, from GRU. Last year, 2002, in August, during the process of changing the government, it was the biggest cyber attacks on Montenegro, and we have the consequences still now. As our colleague from Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, we are making now the regional cyber center for fighting of hybrid attacks in Montenegro, leading by support from United States and France. It will be good for us because we couldn't make the independence of Montenegro without the support of United States, first of all, on that time. Because a lot of support Serbia received from France, one of the main players in European Union. And Serbia and France now also in strong connections. But of the influence of the United States on the France now is more quietly toward Montenegro. We will see. It's a changing the process. As you know, the Janez Janša, one of the biggest nationalists in the Slovenia, he was 2 times the Prime Minister of Slovenia, moved toward European Union states non-paper for changing the maps in the Western Balkans, without Macedonians, without Montenegrins, and without Bosniaks. What it means? He said the the question of the people or population, Croats, Serbian and Albanians, not finished yet. What about us? What about the others? It is very dangerous questions when it moves the question non-paper from one member of European Union and NATO from our region. And I criticize a lot of him on Munich conference for his reaction in that time, because we had the opportunity to meet each other 30 years ago on Rijeka when he was in military forces of Yugoslav People Army. According to the question, only short, influence of corruption, Mr. Surdel, in Montenegro and organized crime. You know that the main interior problem in Montenegro was not changing the authority 30 years. If you have a lot of time not changing the authority, the corruption in one moment became or becoming normal situation. In Montenegro is this case. Corruption in one moment stay as a normal situation. You know that organized crime cannot functioning without corruption, but corruption can functioning without organized crime. It is Montenegro's in strong connections because unfortunately for us, the highest level of people, personnel in police forces, in national security agency, in court and judicial institution was very organized and in strong connections with organized crime. We are asked our partners from Europe, first of all from Europol, and for this moment we receive 60,000 information about the secret communications, people from institutions of Montenegro on the highest level and the groups of criminals in Montenegro. Our criminals groups in very strong connection with Belgrade or Serbian criminal groups. It is very interesting why they have strong connection. Me, as a person who prefer the comparative analysis, I'm making connections between that and the work of Serbian Orthodox Church. Because during the time when international community tried to find Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadžić, you know, their role in the Bosnia and Herzegovina, majority time they spend in the monastery of the Serbian Orthodox Church. It is the connections. And now, the intelligence services said that some of the monastery in Republic of Srpska are the kaserns for the military groups, and they are putting the weapons on the monastery. It was the case now in the north of Kosovo, where we had the monastery of Banjska, which was the full with the weapons of the Serbian army for the engaging this terroristic group of North Kosovo. It is very complicated, but in very strong connection in the Western Balkans, and our cooperation I would like to emphasize one thing in Poland. The church in Poland has very big role. Kaczynski used that, but not in the terrain, directly to making choice of the highest level, the personnel in the Poland government. It is not case in Poland. In Montenegro it is case. One example for you. It is absolutely true. I am a responsible person. The facts. We had on 1995 175 bishops on the Serbian Orthodox Church in Montenegro. Now we have 1,070 bishops in Serbian Orthodox Church. How many times it is more? How is possible? Money. Money, it's the functioning from Russia, from Belgrade. You can recognize the bishops in Montenegro now, they drive the nicest cars. They are very clear, they are very approved. It is not possible for one church to have the capacity without money. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor. I want just to emphasize something in addition to the Professor Tahirovic stances. It is very important when we talk about Orthodox churches in Montenegro, in Macedonia, to bear in mind that what was done in Macedonia in favor of the Macedonian nation was not done in Montenegro during the socialist era. Because during the socialist era, Macedonian political leadership during Yugoslavia, they succeeded to regain the Macedonian Orthodox Church autocephaly. And Montenegrin political leadership, no. And that is one of the biggest problems now, today. And when they asked one of the, he was a very eminent Macedonian politician in that time, Krste Crvenkovski, he was a communist partisan, etc., atheist by conviction. And when they asked him, why, Mr. Comrade Crvenkovski, you fought so hard for re-establishing the Macedonian church autocephality, and you are communist, you are atheist, you are not Orthodox, not Christian, and everything. And he said, you know, a historical sentence: I am not Orthodox, I am not believer, I am communist, absolutely. But the re-establishing the Macedonian church, autocephal church, is the last resort of Serbian hegemony in Macedonia. And that was his intention, how to dissolve and to cut the Serbian hegemony and influence in Macedonia, what was not done in Montenegro in that times.
Thank you very much for this additional information. It's really very important things. Only additional information according Goran. I'm not communist. I believe in a God, but I'm not the member of any religion, really, because I think that all religions has many advantages, but at the same time many not good influence of the populations, and they are functioning now on the interest level as a political party. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, and now the floor goes to Bulago. So the floor is.
Okay, thank you, because both Vice Rector Goran Ilic and Professor Tahirovic touched on a very sensitive but also important both social as well as political questions. And regarding my educational background, I wouldn't even dare to go into those topics, so I would only keep into the technical details. So when speaking about disinformation, if we try to simplify the forms of disinformation, at the lowest level we have the text form in a disinformation, then we can have both the audio and the photo or the image one, and at the very top the pedestal of the believableness and how just realistic false information can be, we have the video. Creating a Photoshop image is not that hard. Even older generations, when you ask them, it doesn't really matter if it is a text and audio or video, etc. They will just say it's a Photoshop when they have a content in which they do not believe. But to create a realistic one, we spoke about deepfakes, which are created by using artificial intelligence. The specific field is called deep learning, where we have generalized adversarial networks. So just to simplify that concept, we have one artificial intelligence that is creating a video and another one that is playing the role of a detective. So firstly, we have the generalized version, and then the detective is pointing out these are the elements of the video that do not make any sense. And then we have a reiteration of around thousands and thousands of times. Before even they start to create that version, we have a target and we have a source. If we used a photo, the realistic ones, they use videos from which we took down the photo of all the different possible angles of the target. And there is a really important question: what is the point of diminishing returns when creating such a video? Because we can quickly reach to around 90% of believableness, but then we have a lot of resources, both in computational resources as well as time resources, in order to achieve the last 10%. And after that video, also someone has to be good at additional video processing techniques. And in the deepfaking process, we have changing the faces from one person to another. But also there is a process called lip syncing, where we are using the original video and we are only making the mouth movement of the target and implementing audio channel by our own liking. And in 2018, we have two fellow scientists, Chesney and Citron, which put the floor to a terminology called liar's dividend. So we had the previous president of the United States pointing out fingers to each of the media that he didn't like to hear the questions. So he was calling for fake news, fake news, fake news. So it is just a matter of time when we will have a legal video of a crime being committed and someone would try to disapprove of that video, calling it to be, as in the term of liar dividend. So we come a full circle if we follow the keystones on how to be resilient on text information, and against we complete the entire circle with the integrity of the medium, which plays a key part. I'm pretty sure in North Macedonia and also in Montenegro, once we have one bombastic news, we have a whole legion of other media in the hundreds of numbers that are sharing the same news. But if they put their integrity to the table, then they might consider whether that is a news worth sharing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So, I close session number 1. I invite all. One more question? Okay. Please, Vlad. Maybe Michael.
Yes, absolutely. Michael.
Sorry, hello to everyone. I would like to take time from the break, but probably I would like to clarify something about regarding the Orthodox Church. But I will use the beginning of my speech in my session to do that. So I don't want to take any time from your break now. Thank you.
Thanks. So now I invite you, all of you, for coffee break. 20 minutes. So we come back here 10 past 12.